Mountains are special places. Scripture records Mount Ararat as the location where Noah's Ark landed after the flood. Moses received the Ten Commandments on a mountain. A mountain is the setting of Jesus' transfiguration, and many of Jesus' teachings happened on a mountaintop. Mountains are places of insight and wisdom. One of the first trips my husband Joe and I made together was to the Isle of Arran to do some hill walking. We'd mapped out a route on the north side of the island, up a series of points and across a ridge. The initial ascent was unremarkable, until we got high enough to be at the base of the first real peak, and it looked like a stunner. As we climbed that ridge, things got progressively tougher. The ground underneath us became rockier and steeper, and the fog rolled in, making it difficult to see. But Joe and I pursued. We'd occasionally stop and check the map, trying to reference where we were and how much further there was to go. And then we came to a place of reckoning. For a moment, the fog cleared, and what appeared out of it was what seemed to us the most enormous, the most precarious crag in the world. And with a heavy heart, I turned to Joe and said, "Oh God, it's Mordor." Crestfallen, we knew we'd have to find another way up the mountain, one that wasn't charted out on the map. There was no way we'd make it up Mordor. So we ventured out onto the side of the elevation to walk a little further along and then try ascending another route. Then came the fog again. Halfway out on the side of that ridge, I was hanging on for dear life. I'd lost track of Joe, and I was starting to slip. It seemed like everywhere I'd put my foot, it wouldn't hold. My arm strength was failing, and I had no idea where I was. It was the stuff of nightmares. My mountaintop experience that day wasn't enlightenment. The hill wasn't a place of insight and wisdom like the Bible often describes. It was fear and strain and aloneness. On the 3rd of April, 1968, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous "I Have Been to the Mountaintop" address. In it, Dr. King imagined himself standing on top of a mountain with the perspective of all human history. And strangely, Dr. King said he was happy. Happy to be living in the time he was, with all its messed upness, its sickness and confusion. He said, "One reason that I'm happy to live in this period is that we have been forced to a point where we are going to have to grapple with the problems that men have been trying to grapple with through history, but the demands didn't force them to do it." He described living at a pivotal point in human history, viewed from above. While Dr. King was happy with his mountaintop experience, I imagine a lot of other people were terrified, frankly. I bet some other folk listening to him had significant reservations, just like today. I know people like me are trying to be positive, hopeful, proportional, but we're just not so sure. Some are saying, surely this is the tipping point. Surely this mountaintop view of the world will give us insight. Surely having lived through this time, we'll have learned something. We'll have gained wisdom. We'll be different. And I'm trying to think that way. I'm trying really hard, but I can't help but doubt. And then I get angry at myself. I'm supposed to be a person of hope. I'm a leader in a faith community. I've got to hold it together, to keep faith in trying times. So I climb with gritted teeth and a feeling like I'm holding on for dear life. And you know what? I'm not alone. For I'm climbing right alongside other disciples, other mountain climbers with reservations too. On that mountaintop, Scripture says, some doubted. But once they got there, Once the disciples arrived at the top, that didn't seem to matter, because Jesus blesses them anyway. In despair and doubt, Jesus blesses them just for going up the mountain, just for having the guts to be there, for the willingness to encounter another world, to rise above the clangor and division and hate, to go to that place set apart for God to speak. To go there, even though afraid, even with doubts, to go up the mountain, to climb that unknown and dangerous path, to get a glimpse. Up there, my friends, upon that mountain, however we arrive, we are blessed. We're blessed to see, blessed to know, blessed to leave there as changed people. On the hilltop, if we're willing to go, we will see things differently. So I'm not going to stay down here on level ground where I think I know what things are like. I'm not going to allow my fear to keep me from understanding more, from taking a risk to see what other people are feeling and experiencing. I'm going to lift my eyes to the hills because there is my helper. That's where my help comes from, the help that lets me love more dearly now and to the end of the age. And I pray, Lord, here I come. Come and teach me on the mountain, a place where I want to see a little more. I want a new outlook, to work for another point of view. Show all us mountain climbers how to obey everything you have commanded.